So, back when I was in school, yeah, this is gonna be a school-related talk, brace yourselves. Anyway, back when I was in school, I was a complete and utter evolution nerd, and I love learning, period. I know, absolutely disgusting, right? Nevertheless, I'm sure all of you can guess I was really looking forward to actually learning all about the history of life in school. Well, I was. The truth is, I found myself eventually sleeping on most of those classes. The thing that surprised me the most, though, was that a lot of students left with the exact same misconceptions they began with. Naturally, I began to wonder, what's wrong with it? I mean, the subject is lovely, it's interesting, it's exciting, but learning about it in school was like looking at one of Michelangelo's marble blocks before they turned it into a beautiful statue. Well, it was a raw, uncompleted, ancient thing to look at. Can you all see the connections? Great. Well, in that case, how should we be teaching this subject anyway? Well, I do have an idea, that's why I made it in the first place. You see, this is a geological time scale of our planet, and life is believed to have started right around here on the ancient Eon, although it began to diversify and become significantly more complex during the Cambrian period. And rather there's the Great Dying. The name is pretty self-explanatory. We humans are quickly extinguishing species and destroying our resources, and still, we probably won't do as much damage as that did. Still on the right track though. As you can see, evolution is not a set of laws we learn about, but rather a process bound by those laws that has its stage set on the geological timeline. Instead of trying to understand the isolated concepts that will be asked of us at the end of the year, my idea is to take a look at the history of evolution as a whole in order to get a clearer, more contextualized understanding of those evolutionary rules. But wait a minute, aren't you just making things more difficult for the students? Aren't you just dumping more information on them? God, you get things to memorize. Well, my point is that it can actually make things easier. You see, you learn by association. We all do. Because long-term memory works by associating and connecting different informations into a cohesive whole. And when you hear about evolution as a cohesive, self-contained process, it's way easier to get a better grasp on what's actually going on, no matter how many examples your teacher gives. And when I say it is self-contained, I do not mean it is without connections to other subjects, just that it can be understood by itself. To better contextualize it, let's say you are studying the geological eras in geography, for example. You might remember that the Carboniferous was the era of the giant arthropods, and that arthropods thrive in oxygen-rich environments. Well, if there was so much O2 in the air to produce so massive bugs, there must have been a lot of plants to produce it. And guess what? There were. During the Carboniferous, there were worldwide forests of rapidly growing and rapidly dying trees. They got buried by the extinction at the end of the era. Now, tell me, what can you make with buried, pressurized wood that will name an entire era Carboniferous? Well, the answer is, of course, coal. Most high-quality coal reserves from all around the world date from this period. And that is a connection you just made that would not you'll forget. Why this era is called Carboniferous? What is its relevance to contemporary resource gathering, and what kind of life inhabited Earth around that time? To better illustrate and communicate another very basic and very misunderstood evolutionary notion, I would call upon the evolution of the recurrent laryngeal nerve. And this nerve first appeared on the primordial fishes in the Cambrian. And then it was located behind the aorta, what would become the aorta actually. And note this structure is comprehended between the 5th and the 6th uvula arches. This route was perfectly reasonable, and the structures were all pretty close at time. So why does it even matter? It's not really that important, but it just so happens that to this day, this nerve still describes the same path it used millions of years ago, and does so in the evolutionary ears of those fishes, you and me. But how is it even possible we don't have gills anymore? But what used to be our gills mutated over and over again until we had a larynx. And now, the recurrent laryngeal nerve nervous the laryngeal muscles on the neck. Yeah, there's this new thing called the neck nowadays. The fish didn't have it. So our hearts may have moved down to the thorax, and the structures that this nerve needs to reach are now on the neck, and it sprouts from the cranium actually, right about here. But what it does, well, of course, it goes all the way down to the neck, to the thorax, scribes notch across the aorta, and goes back up to reach its destination. Why does it have to make this silly turn around the aorta anyway? Because it needs to be behind the structure that it was originally behind. And the adaptation cannot be brought back to what it was before. And that is a very basic evolutionary rule that is vastly misunderstood by students, and that it could be better contextualized and explained. And yes, in case you were wondering, giraffes walk that way too. Don't lie to me, I know you were thinking of it. What I mean to say is, the subjects that we study at school do not know we're divided into subjects. They are part of a complex web of phenomena to internalize knowledge. Focusing your vision on a single point will lead you to nowhere. But as you broaden your vision and seek for the right connections, the invisible threads that intertwine the different concepts and subjects that we see eventually start to become visible, and the picture that begins to form when your vision comes into focus is not the blurry, complicated, and boring subject you once thought it was, but rather a simple to understand and pleasant to contemplate one. This is an evolution talk, but I invite all of you to try this method out in a wide variety of subjects, to try to see the right connections and broaden your horizons. And I do not guarantee it will work on every single thing you try it on, but when it does work, it can make the process of learning something one hell of a lot easier and more exciting. I say this to students and teachers alike, for the latter are the facilitators of this process called learning, and without them so much would be impossible. Thank you everybody and good evening.